Hey guys, this is Lantern here, bringing you another game on the red splash of the rack, 8 rack. I think we want to try to have as many matchups here as humanly possible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a matchup against another discard deck, one that's been in the format a lot longer than this one, but I don't think is as good. And I mean, you'll see what I'm saying. I watched this guy after he rage quits me, and spoiler, he does rage quit. And his deck just fumbled where ours would stand strong. Like, he might have a better aggro game because he's running like things like Finks. But aside from that, I actually don't think his deck's all that much better. Now, before I talk about his deck, let me just talk about a couple changes I made in this main deck. Again, it's feeling like tweaking at this point, not necessarily brewing. So the core of the list is here. I think it's got a very good mana curve. I think you can cut a land or two if you'd like, or add a land or two, switch some things around, maybe take out the ensnaring bridge package, but I think the core is pretty much here. And the core here would be, your 8 racks here, 4 racks, 4 Shrieking Afflictions, 4 Liliana of the Veils, 4 Inquisitions, 4 Raven Crimes, and 4 Thoughtseize. After that, if you want to do your red splash, you can. I think it gives quite a bit in the land package. I also think it gives you some cool side options like Pyroclasm, which actually has helped against elves and whatnot. And Slaughter Games is another one that I'm testing out. And those are the big changes here. Is we've got Slaughter Games and Sadistic Sacrament on the side. I don't know which one's better. I'm running a red splash, so I might as well try out the Slaughter Games for a little bit. Sadistic Sacrament costs 3, and that's huge. Whereas Slaughter Games can't be countered, so all those pesky detention spheres that have been floating around lately can go away, because no one likes them. I put some Necrogen Mists in the main deck over Lightnings, because this will probably kill more cards than Lightning will. That being said, from the sideboard, I have absolutely no clue what should be going here. But for comedy's sake, we're going to throw in Extirpates. And the reason why is because, well, more or less that... my girlfriend loves me. Cool. More or less because... Surgical Extraction doesn't target, but lets you discard, quote-unquote, so will Exturbate. So it's kind of a cool thing to take some of these maybe Thoughtseizes out and Inquisitions out, and then turn them into Exturbates, and actually still have a good chance of like discarding their hand, even if they have a Leyline of the Void or Leyline of the Sanctity out. And I think 2 Necrogen Mists are cool because I always want a Lily, and this will act as Lily number 5 and 6. 8 racks, 6 lilies, 6 bridges. Very cool. And this guy's deck, I'm going to talk about his deck before I show it off real quick. It's a Deathcloud deck. Now, if any of you guys are familiar with the early days of Modern, Deathcloud used to be a deck. Whether it was the best deck in the world, I don't know. But it was around. It existed. It did some things, but Jund ultimately was stronger, especially after they got themselves some Deathrite Shaman. But Deathcloud, each player loses X life, discards X cards from their hand, sacrifices X creatures, then sacrifices that land. So the game plan for this deck is to put out about 5 or 6 lands, pop a really big Deathcloud, kill all of the opponent's lands, have 1 or 2 left, grind it out to victory, eventually do another Deathcloud, and hopefully win the game. Your Christmas land scenario is that you have put out a turn 1 land, turn 2, or maybe turn 1 land, turn 1 Inquisition, cut their play. Turn 2 land, and then you put out the Nutuko Shaman, or whatever that's called, that when it sacrifices it, you get a land. You sacrifice it, you get a land. You go ahead and you put another land out. So turn 3, you do like a Garrick, and then turn 4, you put another land out and you Deathcloud for 3 or 2, 3 or 2. You kill the opponents, wipe their board, and you've still got a Garrick who's going to eventually pump out enough beasts that you'll win the game. Garrick also untaps your lands. That being said, that this deck needs to get to about 5 mana to win. That's the core difference between our deck. Our deck needs to get to 3 mana, but can win on 2. I've had games that I've won on 1 mana. It's possible. We can focus more on disrupting their game plan and putting out, again, these 1 mana win conditions and just win the game off of them, you know? Whereas they need to spend tons and tons of times to ready their board state, and if there's man lands or if there's like a kitchen Finks on the other side, then they have problems. Geist has come into play. Geist sort of screws them over now too. We just generally have enough discard that, like, even if they draw a threat, we make them discard it anyways. And let's get to the game, man. Again, this guy is going to rage quit on me. Which is funny because he showed a lot of respect. Lemmy Chan showed a lot of respect to a lot of other individuals after my game. But I watched it because I wanted to see what his deck was capable of doing. And he didn't win anything. But no one respects the discard deck. Okay, so he's got a pretty strong hand here in terms of being a pseudo Jund. And I've got again a hand that is pretty good because it's got a Tomb of Ogbroth, which allows Rix to be a swamp, so I don't have to worry about being colorless. And I'm going to Ravenscrime them because that's all I got right now. I just got a Ravenscrime. So he's going to discard Dismember. I think he's already figured out that I am not a creature deck, so he's going to go ahead and do that. Interestingly, he makes a misplay later on because he gets a Tomb of Ospros, and I think he knows that it kills it. Although later on in life, it does not kill it. Come M14, if that guy plays his land, well, then we all get swamps. Because that's a weird, flavorless rule. I'm not sure if I like that rule yet, but it's cool for things like this. But for other things, it's less cool. So I'm going to Ravenscrime him again. Cut his hand down. Because it'll be fun to do that. I think he's going to get rid of Abrupt Decay. And, oh, he doesn't get rid of Abrupt Decay. That's fine. He gets rid of a land. And by all means, you can get rid of a land. I drew another land. I drew this Blackcleave, so I'm okay with just Ravencliming twice here. I don't normally like Ravencliming twice on turn 2 unless I have 4 lands in my hand / in play. Because I only need 3. I know I only need 3 to win. Any more than that, it's gravy, I suppose, but whatever. So he puts this out because it's his land drop, and then it's going to do this Garrick, which could screw me over very well. But I point to his thing and say, no, it's not M14 time land yet. We're losing a land together, buddy. And he's going to go ahead and say Lily, and then probably make me discard. He doesn't realize, because I didn't put the Shrieking Affliction out yet, I don't care. I'm totally okay with him discarding his hand for me. Lily's going to do the same thing I want to do anyways. So why not, you know? I'm going to put my land out. It's a colorless land now, drat. But I can't Rise Fall. That's fine. I can Rise Fall later, but I'll be able to Infernal Tutor. I would toss the Rise Fall to Lily anyways if he does it again. He's in a crappy situation. He's got a Lily that's gonna help me if he pluses. He's got a Lily that if he negatives doesn't do anything because I never have a creature. So it's just, his choice is to do nothing with his Lily, which is a waste of resource. It doesn't get him closer to the ultimate. Or to keep hurting himself and keep plussing. If I were him, I would hurt myself and keep plussing. Because maybe you can make me sack it. Who knows? I don't care. In the meantime, I'm going to be hitting you for 3 each and every turn. It's not a good play, yeah, and I toss the Rise Fall. And then I get a Swamp here. And that's fine, because I'll go ahead and Swamp. This is a good play, by the way. It's fan-freaking-tastic. Infernal Tutor. And I'm thinking I might grab a Shrieking Infection, right? That'll kill him quicker. But he's at 0 cards in hand, which means Rax will do the same amount of damage. But the difference is Rack will hurt Liliana. Because Rack can target. Now, people don't understand the way that Rack is worded, and this Rack is a bad example of it. When Rack comes into play, you choose an opponent, right? Once you choose that an opponent, Rack will deal damage to that opponent. Dealing damage. It's not loss of life like Shriek and Affliction. It's dealing damage. Now, when it comes into play, even if there's a ley line of Sanctity in play, you can still choose an opponent. Choosing an opponent is not targeting an opponent. It's just choosing an opponent. And then Rack doing its damage to that opponent, then it's saying it's doing a damage to an opponent, not target opponent. Target chosen opponent. So it's been chosen already. It's not targeting. It's just working on a past tense. It's weird, but it works. Now I'm passing here because I guess I forgot to pass, and I took a long time just to make sure. And I'm not redirecting the damage yet. I'm gonna go ahead and because he's not at ultimate speed yet. And if he's at ultimate, then I want to kill it. So next turn I'll go ahead and shoot it for 3. Now, granted, I could get rid of it in 2 turns. I'd rather him do it, and it's actually a good call that I didn't target it right away because he had no idea that can target a Planeswalker. So he kills the thing that does more damage, quote unquote. And that's fine because he should have targeted Rack. Because of Rack, it does not matter. I will keep hitting. I will hit his Lily, and that'll be it for him, pretty much. And not only that, I've got enough mana now to keep, even without his Lily plussing, keep him on 0 lands. Sorry, 0 cards in hand. And this is when I clarify. I'm going to redirect to kill Lily on upkeep. And I don't think he gets this. He says, you can't do that. I say, yeah, you can. I'm about to shoot you guys a fun link. If anyone actually says you can't do that, you go ahead and you show this link. Because it clarifies specifically that that you can target the Planeswalker. Because choosing an opponent is not targeting. But then when it hits your opponent, it's going to hit your opponent, and then you can redirect it to Lily. It's sort of the same rules of Bolt, that you have to bolt your opponent and then say you're redirecting to the Planeswalker. If you ever go to PTQ or GP, make sure that you phrase it that way, because if you target the Lily, a judge could say that it's an invalid target, and you don't get it. Now, it's going to be a little bit because he's still trying to ask the chat because he doesn't believe the link that I shot him for some reason. But people are not talking about that Walker interaction. And so that doesn't happen. So bear in mind, you're going to get some silence for a little bit. Anywho, I want to bring up something also that'll happen later on. I found out that beginning of upkeep technicality rules goes by active player, non-active player. So if you have a bunch of active player or beginning of upkeep effects, it's going to affect the active player first, gets his decisions if any effects he controls, and then you choose any effects you control and what order they're in. That's going to be important for later for Game 2. Yeah, I guess right now he just basically realizes there's nothing else he can do, so his ultimate plan just went to crappers. And his Liliana goes back to basics, which is okay. I'm okay with that. He could probably, I think he holds this in his hand. I mean, there's no reason not to. Plussing Lily, I'm going to just kill your Rack. I mean, I guess you could plus Lily just to make sure that Rack doesn't kill it next turn. So that way I can't play my own Lily, if you'd like to. But he's going to go, yeah, he decides halfway through the turn that he decided that he wanted to put the Overgrown Tomb out. I don't know why. I guess he just decided that oh, well, I'm smarter than that. Yeah, lag, woo. I was like, that's fine. I'm going to kill your Lily then. Because you didn't plus it, so it's gone. So you're going to have Smallpox in hand. Does it make a difference? Not really. And he's going to say, yeah, let's go to game 2. Because he doesn't... I don't know. People really underestimate this deck. They think that just because they haven't really seen it, it's not worth noting. And I don't know. Whenever I'm testing a deck, I take in mind crazy random decks that can show up because they can ruin your day, you know? And certain GPs or PTQs, or even certain just normal tournaments, if you lose once, twice to a random deck, then you're out, you know? You're not top 8ing ever. Here we're going to Black Cleave Cliffs and into Thoughtseize. I see his hands, and I'm going to take out probably... Yeah, I take out the Sakura Tri-Builder. I was thinking about taking out Graves of Granite right away. Liliana, he can use it, but it doesn't actually affect me all that much. It affects him more than it affects me. So I decided to go with the Sakura, and then Surgical Extraction, because there might be a chance that I can kill Gaze of Granite before he gets to 4 lands. And he's only got 2 lands, 1 in play and one in his hand, so denying him any mana ramp for his Deathcloud is going to screw him over. So I end up going for Tri-Builder. And he is extra upset about this Surgical Extraction. I am sure. Because not only did I just take out one of his main creatures that helps him mana ramp, but I also just took out like another card in his hand and denied him any mana resource. I'm sure that hand looked awesome when he first got it because it was like, oh, well, Sakura, yeah, that's awesome. I can go ahead and have 4 mana and eventually win the game. But no, that's not happening. And I'm denying him the Gaze of Granite. And remember, when you do this, you're also seeing their library. And that's important because you want to plan out your discard. Again, this deck is not for the faint of heart. It's definitely for people who can sort of figure things out. So these Kitchen Finxes are going to be annoying. They'll never die, so they'll only gain them 2 life. Thragtusks are huge problems. Phyrexian Arena is a big problem if that happens, but I probably will figure out a way to discard it. Yeah, and he extirpates right away on the Surgical Extraction. Whether that was a good idea, I don't think it was. Because... really? It doesn't do much. I mean, he gets to see my deck. Maybe he's doing it for deck, but I think he was just more angry, and he let his emotions cloud his ability, his abilities. So yeah, I gotta show him my deck too. I don't care. And there goes my Surgical Extractions. That's fine. He's got Damnation still in his decks and Smallpox, which really doesn't hurt me at all. Deathclouds, which, I mean, if he ends up at 0 cards in hand because of Deathcloud, and I still end up getting a like one of my Shrieking Afflictions out, it's pretty much game over for him. And I put out a Rack and a Shrieking Affliction. It's not doing anything for him right now. He draws a Damnation. That's a useless card for him. He still has that Graze of Granite, which at 1 more land he might be able to do it. So I'm at a pretty crappy thing. I needed to get rid of his creatures, though. That was a big thing. But I end up getting the Thoughtseize, and life is okay again. Again, I was figuring I've got 16 different ways to discard stuff. I'm going to get your Gaze of Granite. So I get it, and I'm like, yep, peace out, Gaze. I think Gaze is awesome, by the way. I was like, peace out, Gaze, and it's not happening. You are not getting rid of my stuff. Gaze has got to be awful. If you see Gaze and you didn't have to wait like I did to take it, make sure you discard it right away, because Gaze just screws over for 4 mana every condition you've got. I mean, Ratchet Bomb, Engineered Explosives does it too. You might have a turn to do it, to get rid of it, but most of the time it just screws you over. Rakdos Charm is something I should think about putting in my sideboard. Kind of helps against a couple combo matchups. Helps a little bit against the aggro matchup too, because if they've got 6 creatures on board, you can be like, alright, kill you. it also empties the grave and kills artifacts, so it might be something to look at. I was running it at one point in time. I never used it. Yeah, I put out another rack, and he's gonna start losing some life. He's choosing not to play cards here. He's holding them in his hand. Again, Lily does nothing. Extirpate. He could have extirpated a while ago, but he was worried that he's going to discard. And by all means, if he wanted to, in response, extirpate to any of my discards, I don't care. Like that's not a big deal. Because then he's going down to one card in hand, and he's going to lose pretty quickly. Again, this deck, once it puts you on the defensive and you're starting to hold cards into your hand to stem the bleeding, game's over for you, man. You've got no outs. I don't even really have a lock here. It's not a definite lock. I'm just have him in a crappy situation. My racks are pinging him a little bit, which is fantastic. He can smallpox, but again, that puts him in crap. The best thing he could possibly do is do it at the end of my turn, extirpate at the end of my turn. But and he's going to say it too again. He's going to be like, in response, I think. But then realizes if he does it in response, he's dead. So that's not a smart move at all either. I like it. He was very upset. Lemmy Chan was very upset about this, how this game was turning out. He's got outs, man. He can't cast a Thragtusk right now. Finks helps, but I think he's on the down and down that if he casts Finks, I'm gonna still rack him to death. Phyrexian Arena is the only one that'll help him, but even then he's gonna be losing one life to it. I sided out my bridges here too because I didn't know he had Thragtusks or anything worth noting. So, and he can cast this guy, which is fine. I figure it's fine, because now he's got 2 cards in hand. Rack deals 1 damage. So I can kill his Gurok, and he'll have to swing for a while. But I end up getting Lily 5 and 6. So I put Necrogen Mists out, and again I'm going to kill him now. Now it's not even worth pinging his Garruk to kill it. I'm gonna say you have to discard a card. It goes down to what, Smallpox in his hand. Then he will be taking 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 damage a turn, and at 15 that gives you 3 turns to kill me. I could also split it if I wanted to and say you're gonna take 5 this turn. Kill the Garruk with one of my racks, and then with these 2, deal 5 damage to him. He goes down to 10. He draws a card, discards a card next turn, ends up going back down to 2, and I continue doing damage to him. That's pretty big, because again, it's during his upkeep. He's not even going to draw. Upkeep is before draw, so he's going to be going down to 1 card in his hand. And again, like I was saying, it goes active player, beginning of upkeep triggers, then non-active player, which is us. We are non-active at this point in time. But because we own the racks and the Shrieking Afflictions and the Necrogen Mists, we get to choose what order it's in. So at 2 cards, I will say Necrogen Mist triggers first. Or I guess the correct way to say it would be Shrieking Affliction trigger, the rack trigger, Necrogenic Mists trigger, resolve. Then he resolves the Necrogenic Mists, discards a card, go down to 1. Rack looks at how many cards he has in hands. It has 1, it deals 2 to the Garruk. Rack looks at the cards in hand, just 1, deals 2 to him. Shrieking Affliction looks at the cards in hand, he has 1, deals the full 3 to him. So you see how that's got to work? Just make sure that you're on top of that, because it's not like Lily where you're doing it on your turn. It's during the upkeep. And also, fun fact, Necrogen Mists and Phyrexian Arena and Dark Confidant counter each other out. Actually, makes it worse. It says you get your normal draw phase, but it hurts you. Anyways, let's play for fun's sake, and let's go ahead and watch him rage quit. Because I put that out. I think he thinks about it for a while. He's in the tank. He's in the tank. And then nothing. He's tanking. He's figuring this out. That I'm going to do it, and he just goes, yeah. He kicks me out right there. See? That's a kick. That is a kick. Anywho, guys, I hope you liked my version Deathcloud. I'm going to try to end up getting every single archetype I can think about and put it up on the primer, or have Memory Lapse put it up on the primer for me. So that way you guys can sort of see what to do in various situations. Tell me what you guys think.